So begin when you're ready and just start with who you are, how you got into jumping, and why the Rebels are so important to you.
You ready?
Yeah.
My name's Dan Frank, and the reason that I joined the Rebels when I was a small kid, maybe 8 or 9 years old, my uncle had an airport in Casa Grande, and my parents would go down to visit, and he'd take us up for a ride, and I was fascinated, being in a plane and looking. Well, one of the times we came down, I found a parachute in the hangar that was, just spread out, and I put it together. And since then, since I was a kid, and I never met anyone till I was 25 years old, the guy trained me for 3 days, took me out to the drop zone, put the gear on me. He wanted me to just go watch somebody else. I said, no, I want to do it right now. So we got in the plane, and I told myself, you know what? When he says go, don't even think about it. Well, I didn't, but when I let go of that plane, my God, what a shock that was, And I thought it over a couple of weeks, and then that's when I came back and joined the Rebels. And the jumps were what, $3, and then to 5.5 it was $5, and So the Rebels, a lot of them wouldn't get out there till about noon. By the time they would come, I'd have 2 or 3 jumps in. I'd just have anybody to spot. I didn't know how to spot, but in those 3 days I learned how to pack. So I just go out there on my own. And then I just really got involved with that. I was out there almost every weekend, for years. And then I don't know at what point. It had to be 5 years or less when I was voted president, and I just stayed there. Well, probably till I got out at my 30 years when I got out. Because, that's right, because I shut down the club. The only ones that were left were Bobby and I. Ruben had gotten out. De la Trinidad, he had got out. And I lacked 100 jumps to make my 1,000th jump. So I did that in a couple of months because, my kick wasn't jumping, by myself. I like to do relative work. But at that point, I had to make the jumps by myself to get those jumps in. So I did that, accomplished that. And what else? I mean, there's such a bond there because I've known them for so many years. Like Ruben and De la Trinidad, they were like 17 years old, I think, And we kind of helped them along, so I've known them for a long time.
What's your most memorable story about the Rebels?
Well, the most memorable story I have is an incident that I had. I was jumping with this other guy. We made a 2-man, and we split, and I came in to pull the ripcord, and the damn thing would not come out. It wouldn't come out, and I kind of went head first, and I must have picked up quite a bit of speed. I threw out the reserve, which was a ripstop 24-footer. The damn thing blew up, and that's all I had. It blew a whole section out of it in about 3 holes about this big. Now the front section that had the material, I'll tell you, there was a hell of a wind. Not only was I going forward, I thought that was it, and it almost knocked me out, and I started coming to, and I thought, you know what, this better be the best PLF you ever made. So I'm coming in really hot, and when I hit, I couldn't break my fall. I went from my feet to my head, and I thought I was dying. I hit on this side, and I felt like I was dying. And when it was all over, they came and they had to pick me up. I couldn't get up by myself. And they stood me up, took my gear off, and put me in my truck and I drove home 30 miles, not knowing that I couldn't speak, you know. And I was that way for about 3 days. It felt like I had died, like part of my body had died, you know. And I'll never forget that.
How long did that keep you from jumping again?
This is how smart I am. What I did, a normal person would have quit. But what I did, I ordered all new gear. I ordered my first Paracommander and my container, my reserve, you know, and I just showed up at the drop zone. You know, I didn't tell anybody. I just showed up. And I talked to someone at the hospital years later about this incident, and he said what you had was a concussion and it affected your speech. You know? So I'll never forget that. But
You were president of the Rebels for quite a long while. What makes the Rebels so unique?
I guess the camaraderie, I mean, they're really close. There's one hell of a bond with them, you know. And I found that through life because I grew up in Navajo, you know, and we were segregated. You couldn't buy just anywhere. You had to be in these barrios. And as an adult, I found that out, you know. But my parents never made me aware of discrimination. I felt it along the way, but I didn't know what it was. I had as many Anglo friends as Hispanic friends all the time, to this day, you know. And there's one hell of a bond with those people because they used to have reunions later on. And it's got the same bond that I have with the Rebels, you know. It's very important to me, all those people.
What are some of the unique things that the first 8-way, let's say, in Arizona, how did that come together?
See, I organized that jump because, and I didn't want to go as base, but this guy Andy Bernal, we went as base and pin, and I knew how each one of them could fly, and we would have made it on the very first attempt, you know, when the club got back together, because they had split and we didn't have anything to do with it. The Vivas, they had split. But I got them together. We wouldn't jump or even talk to each other, and I got them together. And the first try, we would have made it the first try, I think. But the guy was at the door. You know, he was sitting at the door, and I don't know if I put my hand on his shoulder to look at, but he thought that was the signal, and the damn guy went. We still made 7. The next time, boom, we hit it. We hit it.
Who were the really exceptional skydivers of the Rebels?
It would be Mel Flores, Pinky. His son now is jumping Rudy. And Ruben, of course. And then Bobby. Those 3 guys were hot dogs. And I never could do this. But let's say you had the formation here. Boom! They'd stop. They could do that. I never could do it. I was a slowpoke. I'd let it build, and I'd take my spot, you know, and usually I'd be the last one. I'd just come in, you know. But I wasn't aggressive like they were, you know. They were really good.
What other jumping spots around the U.S. or around the world have you been to?
To skydive, Ajo. I think we jumped one time at Centinela. We went over to California, and is it Van Nuys? They have an airport there. Well, we took that to Centinela, and this was a hell of an experience. We had to be at least at 12,000, and you spotted, and I didn't know where we were supposed to land. It was supposed to be at a bar. There was a hell of a